Hello and welcome to Crucible of Worlds for more dedicated legacy action. I've got my hands on the new Edge of Eternities cards, so here we go. First things first, this is by far my favourite card from the set, and one of my favourite cards I've printed for ages. This is a land, you can pay 1 life, tap it, add a black mana, and put a hatchling counter on it, and when it's put into a graveyard from the battlefield, for each hatchling counter on it, you get a 1/1 black insect creature token with flying. This card is sweet, and we're pairing it today with Smallpox. This is not the only new card we're running in this deck though. We also have Timeline Culler. So, this is black for a 2/2 with haste, which is pretty cool. And you can cast this card from your graveyard using its warp ability. So warp is an ability where you pay the warp cost, and you put it into play, and then at the end of the turn it gets exiled, and then on another turn you can play it for its regular mana cost. And that's pretty much it. So what this is going to do is, if this is in our graveyard, it's something that we're happy to discard to things like Smallpox, or to actual regular Pox, which we're running 1 copy of, or Liliana the Veil, and then we can just get it back. But what this is also going to do is, we are casting this from our graveyard, because of its ability, which means this will bring back Poxwalkers, which is obviously a pretty powerful Magic the Gathering card. Also, when we cast this from the Exile Zone, after it's already been on its little warp journey, again, it will trigger Poxwalkers. So we actually have a pretty solid base of threats here. We are pairing this up with some just generically good cards here. So we have Thoughtseize and Orcish Bowmasters. Orcish Bowmasters pretty good against Smallpox because we can get rid of the excess token, and that's not really a big deal, but you still get to keep the permanent that's going to mess with our opponent's ability to draw extra cards and get out of the hole that we're putting them into. We've got a very small Urza Saga package. We've just got a couple of Urza Sagas because I wanted some life gain in the deck. And I think the easiest way in a deck like this to get that would be to have a couple of Urza Saga to go and get our Shadowspear, Nihil Spellbomb, and then a Mox Diamond as well. We've got a little pack of Wastelands here so we can try and disrupt our opponent's mana as well as using these Smallpoxes. We've got Cabal Pit, Castle Locthwain, etc. Urborg to make sure our Urza Saga taps with the right colour mana. We've got a 1/of Crucible of Worlds. Why not? I do love this card, as you probably guessed. And we have Cabal Therapy, which is another way to get Poxwalkers back. And once we have a Poxwalkers, we can then just start shredding. I did have another build of this with Ripples of Undeath, but we're just going to try and keep a saturation of good cards to hopefully see us through with these things. So if we're playing Ripples of Undeath, it's kind of like a fun card that we can leverage and do some stuff with. But what I wanted to do was play solidly powerful cards today, you know, like your Bowmasters and stuff, and then see how good this package of Timeline Culler, Poxwalkers, and Eumidian Hatchery is. Really like this Hatchery card a great deal, and you will be seeing it quite a bit on this channel going forward, that's for sure. Sideboard-wise, we got some Graveyard Hate, we got some Creature/Planeswalker removal, we've got a Darkblast. This is a card that I absolutely adore. It's just 1 mana, target creature gets -1/-1 till end of turn, but it has Dredge. Now, we're happy to dredge stuff here because we've got a lot of stuff that wants to be in the graveyard. But what this is going to do is allow us to kill lots of little creatures. So sometimes with Pox, if your opponent's just going big creatures, then your sacrifices are going to be great. But if they're going wide with lots of little annoying creatures, we're going to board in the Darkblast and snipe out a bunch of their Orcish Bowmasters and their Noble Hierarchs, that sort of jam. Speaking of Noble Hierarchs, get in the bin, Nardu. We're playing 3 Cursed Totem because we can't beat the card advantage that those decks bring. We've also got 3 Null Rods, which will step on our toes a little bit with some things here, but when this is good, this is going to be the thing that stops us from losing the game. So that is the list. How's it going to be? I don't know, but I have a Pox video on my channel every month, and this is this month, and I'm really excited to play this one because I adore this card a great deal. Alright, like, subscribe, that way you won't miss any of our new action with the new cards. We're going to be playing a bunch of new cards the next week or 2, so make sure you lock in that subscription. And if you need to buy new cards, check out 3-for-1 Trading, the link is in my description. They support the Legacy community and have a great inventory. Let's jam! For the best Eternal experience this summer, check out Eternal Mania in Hasselt, Belgium from August 8th to 10th. Aside from hosting the European Legacy Masters, they have a whole host of other tournaments from team trios to old school and pre-modern. I will be there playing Legacy and hanging out as a special guest. This will also be the first event that I'll be giving out my own special Marit Lage tokens, so why not come down to enjoy an awesome weekend ran by one of the best TOs in Europe. Okay, Hatchery, Thoughtseize, into Smallpox, we can get 2 guys and set them back. I'm here for this so much. I'm really looking forward to this card. I didn't know this is the card I wanted. I'm genuinely hyped and excited to play this card. Get in the Hatchery. It's going to be a little bit of a painful turn to get this Thoughtseize off as well, but we're going to be fine with that. Severed Illusionist, Force of Will, Nomads and Core. I'm going to take this. I can take the blue card and hope they don't draw another blue card. I quite like that as a strategy. This takes them off the combo, and it means that if we Smallpox, it can do a boatload of work into our opponent. Flooded Strand and no play. Okay, so we're not going to pick up the Nomads and Core here. Interesting. We could just Smallpox and get some stuff going. We could play the Wasteland out so our opponent doesn't get the ability to fetch a non-basic. To fetch a non-basic, so their mana's going to be worse. So this probably just gets an island, this gets a plains. Is that okay, or do we just jam a Smallpox right now? We could just go for a Saga and get that going. Right, I'm going to play the Wasteland here and try and make our opponent stay a little bit on the honest side. If they fetch a Surveil Land end of turn, we just take that out straight away. If they don't fetch a Surveil Land and they go and get a basic, then we've hampered their sort of colour distribution. And we will be tapping this hatchery every turn, don't you worry. I'm here. We can also Wasteland our own hatchery. That's not really what we're planning to do here. Would have loved to have like an Orcish Bowmasters we could flash in. That'd be pretty cool, but that's not what's happening here. We're just going to the hatchery. How good is this? This is what I'm all about. What are we going to draw? Another Wasteland. Okay. Let's cast a Smallpox. How do you feel about this one? Force of Will pitching Thassa's Oracle. That might be their only Thassa's Oracle. Next time we've got another Smallpox. We again keep them down with our Wasteland. If they've just happened to have drawn into another Illusionist and can just drop the Illusionist down the Nomads straight away, then that's going to feel bad for us. Plains. Island. Plains, I assume, here. I don't know if they have a second Oracle, though, so they might not be able to win here. 3 mana. Nardu. Right, we're just going to smash this right away. I'm really looking forward to resolving this Smallpox. Okay, so we want to play out a land so we can play around days. If we play out the Saga, and then we sacrifice the Hatchery, then we've got loads of power coming in. Opponent's got 2 cards and we know what they both are. So we go black and black. Smallpox, please. I'm going to discard probably this Castle Locthwain, I think. Alright, they've had enough. The Hatchery too strong. This is going to get us 4 1/1s just for playing the game. And we're stripping away our opponent's resources. Beautiful stuff. Alright, let's get these Cursed Totems in. Sorry, those are Null Rods. So, Null Rods kind of work, but... so, Null Rods do a little bit of work. They stop Shuko. Cursed Totem stops the Nomads. Darkblast kills a bunch of their things, so that's nice to know. Sheoldred's Edict does work. So, basically, our entire sideboard has different options that we can use here. So, that's kind of awkward. Stripping away a big chunk of resources is nice. I think we like the Graveyard Hate. We like the Cabal Therapy. We know what we're naming here. This is also my favourite discard spell of all time. I think it really rewards knowledge of the format in a cool way. Orcish Bowmasters kills X1s. Maybe this is not a Crucible game. Maybe we can shave on Poxwalkers and Culler slightly, although Culler's the way that we can start the ball rolling with the Cabal Therapies. We just shave on these. Pox maybe a little bit too expensive. Maybe we shave on a Liliana. Just shave the top end. How many cards have we got that we can stick in now? We're definitely taking this Darkblast. That gives us 4 more. So we could just take the Leylines and just stop them having a graveyard-based kill. Or we can just take the removal and stop any sort of kill. So we are kind of swapping out some sort of removal in Liliana and Pox for the Edicts, but I think we just need removal. Is this better than Cursed Totem? Cursed Totem stops their Nomads and Core. Okay, I think we're going to go for a little bit of both here. Do I want this other Cursed Totem? Not sure. Okay, we're gonna try it like this. I don't have like a full sideboard map. This is obviously very tentative in its construction. I would like some black mana. That would be good. I think we're going to mulligan this. Deck, hello? Hello? Our deck is like mostly mana. This is keepable, so we will hit that keep button. So Swamp and Bowmaster is going to be good in this matchup. So we're going to keep both Bowmasters, and we're going to keep land that we can deploy the Bowmasters with. Is this a match where we want the Urza's target? Don't think we want the Timeline Culler. And then we get to keep 2 of these 3 lands. We're definitely keeping... Actually, are we keeping the Swamp? Because they don't have Wasteland, so we could keep the Urborg and just be fine. Yeah, we'll do that. Unless our opponent's got some sort of weird build where they're going to mess with our lands, but that's just not a thing they tend to do. A Tameo. Sure. Card is good. I don't really want to Wasteland into the Tammy that's on board. Oh, a Thoughtseize. Perfect. This gives us a great thing to do on turn 1. Let's see what you're working with. Force of Negation, Prismatic Ending. Don't care about these at all. I'm going to take the Pending. If they want to spend 2 cards in this matchup that is entirely about resources, then sign me up. So we have a little bit of an interesting choice here about whether or not we just Wasteland their Saga straight away. We could just Wasteland the Tundra and let the Saga run its course. Alright, they didn't play a Saga, so we don't have that decision. And this means we know what they've drawn and they're just going to crack this clue, I would assume. Or they're just getting the mana out now. Okay. I think we play out this... Do we play out the Wasteland? We could play out the Saga and start cranking, but we don't actually want to crank it that much. I think we play out the Wasteland here. And then we wait for this Saga to come down. We're obviously going to Bowmasters when they do their ping, when they do their card draw end step. A little bit telegraphed, but I don't think our opponent has much choice to play around it. We don't get to kill the Tamiyo, we do get to ping them for 2 and make future clues worse. Love me some Bowmasters. Where's my Hatchery? Just want to play with Hatchery all the time and nothing else. Alright, so they've got Hardcast Force of Negation if they want it. Pithing Needle, this is going to name Wasteland. That is pretty good. We're not great at answering the old artifacts. Okay. This also gives us another problem in the fact that their Saga constructs are going to be quite large. Our Bowmaster's not going to be able to pick them up. And they're going to be able to run through and get their combo piece. So we're just going to be living in fear of that at all times. Not the one we wanted. Truth be told. I will deploy the Urza Saga. I will bash. And we will play the Bowmasters now and force through the extra points of damage. They're cracking a clue. They are cracking a clue. We don't get to kill the Tamiyo here, but we get to put more damage on our opponent. This is also going to shrink their Urza Saga constructs, which is not irrelevant either. So we're now cracking with a 4-4. So our next play is probably just start cranking our own Saga constructs, and then once we stick Shadowspear on, that's going to be better than our opponent's Shuko. But they obviously have more constructs going than we do, because they've got double Saga. But they're going to miss a construct on this one. They could have not played this one out for a turn and just held it in hand so they had the ability to make construct here, untap, make construct, and then start making constructs the turn after. So how big are they going to be? 3 3s, right? Our 4-4 is bigger, so that's nice to know. Castle Locthwain. Unless you control a swamp, this is a swamp, so we can get our Castle Locthwain in. I will attack you with a 4-4 here. Swords to Plowshares. Boo! Not a bad draw for our opponent there. So they're going to crank out a construct, and then they're going to crank another one. Tamiyo's going to keep feeding the constructs, and it's starting to slip away here. I think the Pithing Needle was actually the thing that made it slip away. And we know we're not resolving any sort of like smallpox type effects to get out of this pickle. Yeah, so missing a construct with this particular Saga. I think they're just going to get Shuko. That's still going to pump their creature. There is the Shuko. They're putting it on the Tamiyo. Are they just going to peck away with this? Or are they going to come in with a construct as well? They are coming in with a construct. You got it. I'll take the 5. And then we're going to grind out our own little Urza Saga parade. Sure, moving it across. So now you have a 7-6. That's quite large, isn't it? Let's make a construct. Poor little 1-1. Not the size of creature we wanted, really. Make another one. Shadowspear is probably what we're up to here. I did have another build that had, what's it called? Basilisk Collar in instead of the Shadowspear, because the idea is we're making lots of 1-1s, given those Death Touch is really good. Now I kind of regret not being in that situation. Okay. We're in trouble. That's what I'm getting out of this one. How much... if we put this on a Bowmasters, then we can save our bigger creatures to attack with. So we're chump blocking with the Bowmasters is what we're saying here. Because this is going to be lethal damage. Alright, I think our opponent is going to win this particular game, but we've got a game 3 on the play where we can start attacking aggressively with like hand disruption and getting smallpoxes in early doors. Right, another Shuko. Yep, it's a big old Tamiyo. An almighty 2-3. It's almost a Delver. Right, so we block here. We take 9, 10, 11, but we gain 2, so we take 9. I don't like it, but here we are. Alright, deck. We need some sort of banger that gets through Force of Negation. What exactly is that card? Probably not that one. It does pump our constructs, though, so it's not nothing. It just feels a little bit like nothing. If we equip here, so we're going to get tapped by a whole bunch of things. We can attack with a 5 power guy. We can force through 5 damage. We gain 5 life, then we're dead on the backswing. I think we're just going to scoop this one up. Okay, the Pithing Needle was pretty strong then. I think we could beat 1 construct, but just not 2. I think I like how we sideboarded. Some of these things get a little bit better on the draw. Sorry, on the play, because we're more likely to hit 3 mana. Like, when it's going to be able to actually impact the game. But I think I like how we sideboarded. We're just going to go back in. We also did mulligan pretty hard on that one. Oh, the Hatchery. Boom. We got to slam any hand with a Hatchery, surely. I think the hand is also good, which is nice. I really do hope that you lovely people out there are excited to see me put a Hatchery into play often, because that's my new life now. Brainstorm is going to fix this hand up nicely. Tamiyo is very irritating for what we're trying to do. I think we have to take the Tamiyo. Oh, I hate Tamiyo. It's a bit good. Flooded Strand. I don't think they're brainstorming now. They could have found a Ponder. Oh, they've found another Tamiyo. Cool. Sure. Why not? Why wouldn't they have a Tamiyo? A Timeline Culler. So we know they got a Force of Negation. We can just get in with this guy, but he doesn't actually deal any damage right now, which isn't ideal. I think we just play the Urborg, and then we see if we can get anything out with this. We obviously want to tap this for life. Just get as many things underneath on top of this so we can get our horde of 1/1s at some point. So this is going to shut off some of our opponent's ways of comboing. Not all of them. They do still have the Shukos that we've seen they're pretty good at tutoring for. They can't activate the abilities of Tamiyo. They can still make clues, and this doesn't actually have any activated abilities, apart from when it flips, when it's not a creature, so it will be able to activate. So this is not really doing the work right now, and we might just get rolled because Tamiyo is a pretty busted card. Yep. So if we'd have taken the Brainstorm, maybe they would have just top decked the Brainstorm, it would have been the same. But I think we're right to take the Tamiyo, and it's just annoying that it's panned out this way. Because now we're under this sort of pressure. Now we have slightly more ways of dealing with it, but Tamiyo is decidedly good against Hatchery tokens, again. Making me sad. A Wasteland. That's not necessarily where we want to be right now. I think we play out the Saga. And then I think we get the Timeline Culler rolling, because that way if they... Or do we warp this? If we warp it, what happens? Nothing really, right? We don't have another play that we can follow up with. I think we just jam it regularly mode. And then put 1 damage on the Tamiyo. This 1 damage on the Tamiyo will mean that if our opponent minuses it to get something back, they lose the Tamiyo. So we need to have some pressure. I think this card is better than Bloodghast, which makes me sad. Because I love Bloodghast. But I think this card is pretty darn good. It's only an uncommon. I didn't even realise that. Back in my day, this would have been a rare. Let's put a little bit of hurt on the Tamiyo. We get ploughed. As our opponent's draw step, spin, Tamiyo, and plough. Obviously, they had a Brainstorm, so they've mixed their hands around, so it's not out of the question. Yep. That's pretty bad. We can't cast this from the exile zone. That's not how that works. When you warp it, it gets exiled with like a special criteria, a bit like when you were plotting as well, from whatever the Cowboy set was called. They burned their clue. Can we get this Urza Saga to do enough damage to our opponent? Oh, to our opponent's Tamiyo, I should say. That's big. And the Hatchery not really going to do the work here for us. Smallpox. This doesn't say Planeswalker, so we can't actually, in good faith, use this right now. Let's play this, and are we better off making a 3-1, or we can make a 1-1 that will attack as a 3-3 that doesn't get countered by anything? I think the correct play here is the Urza Saga construct. So we make a construct, get an equipment, put the equipment on, we get to bash in for 3 at the Tamiyo. And that will keep it away from ultimating. Alright, they're just getting back the plough. That's okay with me. Okay, we've got a Brainstorm here. So what we can do here is we can Wasteland our own Hatchery and just get 4 1/1s, and that will clean the Tamiyo out. And that's going to be pretty good. Oh, Hatchery. You're a beauty, aren't you? Okay, so let's make a construct. Wasteland my Hatchery. Not really how I want to use my Wastelands, but if this lets us clear the Tamiyo, I think that's super worth it. We don't get to make another construct here, but we're going wide and we're going tall here. I will float a black mana off of this, and I will get the... Is it the Shadowspear or is it the Spellbomb here? I think it's the Spellbomb so we don't randomly die to their combo. And then we have a mana here. Are we going to play out this Poxwalkers or are we playing out the Bowmasters? Bowmasters around days holding up our Nihil Spellbomb activation seems pretty good to me. Alright, we're going to put 1 damage on the Tamiyo. We're going to go to attacks. This at Tamiyo, we know they've got 1 answer to our guy. So we need to put at least 3 into Tamiyo. I think we're just going to put all 4 of these into Tamiyo and this into our opponent. We just really need to make sure this Tamiyo is not part of the game anymore. Alright, and we're getting the damage in with our construct. That's pretty good. We're not going to immediately die to Cephalid Illusionist combo. The Nadu combo will do a bit of a number on us if they have a Shuko though. Alright, they're ploughing the Bowmasters rather than anything we've got on the board. Not too shabby. A Brainstorm. Sure, you got it. Like, we can crack the Spellbomb and draw a card if we need to, but I just don't think we need to just yet. Like, it's certainly possible they can assemble Shuko and Illusionist. Right, we have an Urza Saga. That is a problem, potentially. A Shuko, sure. This is just going to make their constructs bigger. A Nomads in Core, yep. Okay. If we trade this off, then it makes our other stuff better. I think we're going to Thoughtseize our opponent here. Just see if we can take a peek at what's going on. A Flusterstorm. Well, we can't pay for that one. Okay, so if we attack with everything here, if our opponent blocks with this Nomads, that's good for us. Alright. This means that our Smallpox will be able to take out the first construct. Or the second construct, I should say, because they make it end step. But if they do it in our combat to block, then we get to kind of prey upon them a little bit. They can also just draw the Thassa's Oracle and mill themselves out that way. There's so many ways our opponent can win this game, and that makes me apprehensive. Alright, we're making a construct now. Interesting timing. We're putting the Shuko on it. Okay. What is our opponent doing with their resources here? Do I need to get a land to play around days? Or are we just enjoying to have this? I think we need to make sure we don't die to the combo that way. Okay, we drew an Urborg. Right, we're going to play this Urborg. This is going to be an awkward turn for us, I won't lie. Let's tap this for black here. I would like to Smallpox. Is this the Force of Negation that we saw earlier? It is. Okay. So we can go to attacks here. If we attack with all creatures, if they block the construct, we trade. If they block one of the other things, we get 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 damage through. So I think this is just like Empty the Warrens mode where we're just putting damage as fast as we can. Sure. They got the trade here. We bash them for half their life total. This Poxwalkers not necessarily helping us out in a big way here. I think this is the turn where we will crack the Spellbomb at the end. Alright, there is a construct. They have the ability to make another construct off this Saga as well, so we can only force through 3 damage this turn, and we're going to lose 2 pieces for it. And the following turn, we can maybe force through 1. So this is going to be crack Spellbomb and try and find a way through. Are they going to Pithy Needle last Spellbomb? Or are they going to go for Wasteland? Castle Locthwain. Cool. We're not getting up to enough mana to do this. Wizard, that doesn't matter. They got 1 card in hand. They've got a guy. Enjoy. This is how we have to do this, because we're not getting through what they have. I hate this. I think this means that we so lose to their... If they cared about the Spellbomb, they would have just played it on Spellbomb, right? That's the information our opponent's giving us. If they've just blagged us, and they're going to get us here, then so be it. A Cabal Therapy. Okay. Not necessarily the ideal one here. A Hatchery. Okay, that's a wonderful draw. Okay. Do we send in the clowns here? We can force 2 damage through, which makes Poxwalkers lethal. Is that a good place to be? Or do we want to swing with a larger selection of creatures? I think we're going to swing with a larger selection of creatures. If our opponent's last card in hand is Cephalid Illusionist or Nardu, then that's kind of annoying. Well, if it's Cephalid Illusionist specifically, that's annoying. I don't think we get to play around that, though. They gave us the information that they weren't interested in our Spellbomb. Like, if they had a Cephalid Illusionist there, they named Spellbomb here and just win the game, right? So they shouldn't have had an Illusionist in hand. Now, obviously, they can draw one, you know, that's magic for you. Okay, so they're getting a construct, then another construct. But our creature has Death Touch, so it can always trade with one of these, and we have a way of getting it back with the Cabal Therapy. And, you know, we've got plenty of good draws. We've got some removal spells that are pretty nice. We've got additional Poxwalkers, can do some pretty good threatening here. Right, we're just assembling a large team of boys. Alright. Savannah. This is 14 damage. That's it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if we attack with everything, they die here. Is that the game we're playing? Opponent's got 1 card in hand. Alright, I'm going to take 14 here and go to 1. Oh, that doesn't necessarily turn off our hatchery. Because we have the Urborg. Yep, okay, I think we should take it. Just a casual 14 to the face. And then we can Cabal Therapy our opponent to see if the coast is clear. A Shadowspear. That's really interesting. If they have a Swords to Plowshares, then we're dead regardless. I think we should be starting off with a Cabal Therapy here. Because we need to know if we can attack. If we can't, we're going to have to do some chump blocking and getting our Poxwalkers killing their guys. Our opponent doesn't really have direct damage or trample or anything like that, so we've got a line here. I think it is just Swords to Plowshares that gets us. Brazen Borrower, if they're running it, can get us here. But we're going to see their hand, and then if we don't win, then we just don't have to attack. And then we can, like, chump, trade, and then get back the Poxwalkers as well. Right, this is going to be a Swords to Plowshares on our Poxwalkers. A Swords to Plowshares on their own guy. You got it, boss. Alright. They don't have anything in hand, so it doesn't matter what we name. Okay. Interesting. Are they going to block here? So much life they're on, though. Alright, we're going to play this Shadowspear. And then we're going to pass. So they did have the plow. Interesting they didn't go after our Poxwalkers. They force us on chump blocks next turn if they do that. Alright, they got a land. Excellent. That is a whiff. If they attack, we trade Poxwalkers and a chump blocker. And then we can Cabal Therapy back if we want. So I think we're actually in the driving seat, but top decks are going to massively swing this game. These don't have trample. Right, we block here. One of our insects can go under the bus. Get that sweet Death Touch going. See what we draw, see if it's useful or not. A swamp. Like, I'm not going to turn down swamps at this point of the game. Okay, so I think we go equip this to an insect token. And black. Go attack with an insect token. And then I'm going to Cabal Therapy our opponent, sacrificing an insect token to get back our Poxwalkers. We know our opponent doesn't have anything, we're just doing this to get our guy back. And then we can equip this Shadowspear to some guy. And then if they attack us, we can gain some life as we chump block. Now, Nardu is a card our opponent runs that completely dominates this game if they find it. Alright, it wasn't the top card of their library. What is the random card on top of your library? It's a Ponder. That is a pretty good way of finding the Nardu. We want to see a shuffle. Let's see a shuffle in this little dialogue box over here telling us what our opponent's doing. There it is. Shuffles their library. Uh-oh. This is a Nardu. Alright, they're going to get some cards. But cards doesn't mean they win the game. It's not going to be good for us. But we can win from this spot still. Okay, Force of Will. They don't have hard cast ability for Force of Will. They have 2 more free cards off this Nadu. Brainstorm. Okay, so they have Force of Will. They can Brainstorm to keep looking for stuff. And a Daze. Okay. So resolving spells not going to be the easiest thing for us to do. So they probably put back this Flooded Strand among other... No, the Flooded Strand's in play, isn't it? Sorry. A Nomad's in Core. Okay, so this gives them 2 more looks, and then they also get 6 looks on our turn. I think we have run our course here. The life totals are pretty close, but the amount of card advantage our opponent's getting here is just too much for us to overcome. Oh, no, sorry, they don't get to do it on our turn because the Nomads is shot off by the Cursed Totem that we brought it in. Smart. Smart play there. We're not as cooked as I thought we were. So, how are we getting through this board? We put the Shadowspear on a Poxwalkers. Attack with Poxwalkers. Anything that blocks it, it tramples over. So we'll get 3 damage into our opponent and 3 life, which means we're not immediately dead to a Nadu hit. It's not great from here. We have to block here. We may as well gain ourselves 2 life in the process. We're not resolving any spells, which feels awkward. We have a 4/4 Nadu, but we can jam them with the Poxwalkers. They'll just block with the Nomads. But that is 1 less creature they have to start equipping stuff to. That is actually a pretty handy card here. Right, let's equip this to Poxwalkers. This will trade with the Nomads, unfortunately. Well, they're just taking it. Interesting. They would rather have the extra bodies so they can make more creatures, make more card draw with their Nadu. That's understandable. I think our chances of winning this game are low, but they are greater than 0, which is the reason we're still playing, which is not normally something I would do against Nadu in this position. But we have a reasonable board and our opponent is low. And they don't get to draw 12 cards a turn, only 6. Prismatic Ending, that's very good. They can strip out this Cursed Totem. Yeah, okay, that's it. That's game. We're done there. Alright, we put up the good fight. And it didn't quite go to plan. But we were competitive. Like, we did multi 5 in the second game. But that was very competitive. I'm happy with how the deck performed. Let's go to round 2. Sure, I am here to keep this hand. Alright, our opponent is probably on Maverick. Since their name is a Maverick. Well, it literally has Maverick in it. And our opponent is quite well known for playing Maverick. What do I not want our opponent to have here? A 3-drop. Probably Knight of the Reliquary is the scariest thing that they can drop upon our head. Alright. No Knight of the Reliquary. They got Scythecat Cub. What is Lightstall Inquisitor? Oh, this is the new one. It, like, exiles a card from my hand and makes it cost 1 more. That's fine for where we are right now. Scythecat Cub. So we play out the swamp so we didn't get Wasteland on the first turn cycle, and we have achieved that goal. They are pumping the Noble Hierarch so we can't kill it with a Orcish Bowmasters. Smart move there from our opponent. When you play Maverick, you have to be smart, because you're basically making it harder for yourself by playing a deck like Maverick. But if you can play it to perfection, then you can squeeze an awful lot out of it. I tend to exile any card from my hand. Any card at all. Each land enters tapped. Okay. I don't think we need the Shadowspear for a bit. Right, let's leave this down here. So we can kill this off with the Bowmasters. The Wasteland isn't really that useful right now. Let's just get the hatchery going. If our opponent fetch land, this can come back to bite us. But if they just have one of the lands that we know they have in their hand, then when they put the trigger, when they put the counter on, if they put it on like a Lightstall Inquisitor, we just bop it out. Alternatively, we can then kill the Scythecat Cub. Oh no, this will be a 3/3 on attacks because of the Exalted. That's the word I'm looking for. So we probably just kill the Lightstall Inquisitor if they're going to try and protect their board going wide that way. But at some point, we're going to get a bunch of guys. And that's going to be cool. Right, so targeting this, we're going to start hatching our little guys. So they might even wasteland this early just so we don't get lots of little friends. Like, they can wasteland this now, we get 1 thing. And it shuts us off of mana. That's reasonable. That's what our opponent's going for. We get a 1/1 though. What's happening here? They're ploughing our Orc Army token. Sure. That's actually quite relevant. Are they going to attack here? They are. This is a 3-3, so we're just going to take it. Makes sense. That's why they're plowed, so they can attack easily in there. So, we play out our Wasteland, and we can't really attack. We can attack with our flyer, actually. But I guess we're just going to hold back on blocks. Alright. A Gadok Teague. Does this actually impact our deck at all? I don't think it does. You got it. It's a 2-2. They're going to pump their Scythecat Cub. You got it. Exiling our poor little Hatchery and our Cabal Therapy, which is actually a relevant card, although with the amount of cards our opponent has left, that's probably not the most relevant of cards. This is going to be a 4-4. I'm okay to trade everything for this, I think. To be honest. This is kind of like the only game in town right now. So ping this for 1. We go to blocks. So, Orcish Bowmaster not particularly great against our opponent here. It might genuinely be a case where we're blocking like this, so that if we get another Bowmaster, this becomes a 2-2. Because they're not going to draw extra cards, they're playing Maverick. But now they don't really have much going on. These creatures will peck us away, but they won't do vast amounts of stuff. Okay, let's go for 1, 2, 3. Let's make you lose one of your guys. Then we can chump block the other one. And then we can start going upstairs with Liliana and maybe find a way out of whatever creature our opponent leaves themselves with. If we find a black source, Pox will clean up one creature. This is rounded up. So a third of one rounded up to a whole number is going to be 1. Alright, Plains, an Elvish Reclaimer. That's a pretty good one. We have a Nihil Spellbomb, so we can kind of keep it at bay. They should attack in here. They do. Is it worth keeping this Liliana alive? Is it worth keeping this Liliana alive? That is an interesting question, actually. Like, they don't have any cards left in hand. I don't think it is. I think we just let this go. We still have this Shadowspear we can reach for at some point. It takes 4 mana to play and equip it because of the thing making it cost 1 more. Okay. I will play out this land. Okay. Let's attack with this Orc Army token. I don't think they'll block here. They did not block. So now we have a decision. Are we going to Pox our opponent, or are we going to Shadowspear? I think I'm going to Shadowspear here. Maybe that's cowardly. But I think we want to get the Shadowspear going. And then we can redraw with the Spellbomb if we want to. But we probably want to get the Pox going first. Problem with Pox is we lose 2 of our lands. So if we Wasteland first, then that ends up okay for us. This, with the Shadowspear on, can always threaten to deal with the Reclaimer in combat, because this will always be a 2-power creature if we wipe their graveyard. We can put 2 damage on it, and then wipe the graveyard, then there's no chance for them to do anything, because state-based effects are checked before anyone gets to cast a spell, and then it will see that it's got 2 damage on it, and it's got only 2 toughness at that point. Green Sun's Zenith X equals 3. That is what I would describe as an absolute banger. Our Pox is just going to kill this Noble Hierarch, and we're going to be in the dirt. Oh, it's a Ramanap Excavator. That is a different flavour of horrible for us. No, they're not attacking. We can't really equip because they have an almighty 2-3. Are we going to take out this Wasteland? Is now the time to do that? This Ramanap is so annoying. I don't think we are. Thoughtseize, they have no cards in hand. We could Wasteland our opponent. And then we could Smallpox. Sorry, we could regular Pox. They lose one of their guys. And then what? The age-old question of, and then what? Okay, let's not attack this turn. I will equip this Shadowspear second main, though. Okay. Right. Their Claimer should probably be doing something here. Let's see what they do with their Reclaimer at end step, and then we can try and wipe their graveyard. Just a Dryad Arbor. Do anything else? They can't do anything else because they have the Reclaimer going. I think we're in a little bit of trouble. Although our regular Pox does kill 2 of their guys now. Knight is pretty good. I think we're just going to get beaten by fair creatures here. Nothing's attacking. I don't think... Are we Wastelanding here? That doesn't seem great, does it? They're just going to rotate with the Reclaimer. Double Wasteland. That's an interesting option. Okay. We don't have any sweepers in our deck. So I just don't think we're going to get out of this little hole that we find ourselves in. Okay. Are you going to activate your Elvish Reclaimer? They should do. This is probably going to be our opportunity to try and Spellbomb. We have to pass to see if they Reclaimer. They don't have to. Okay, they are Reclaiming. This gives us a little window here. We have no cards in hand. We do have to beat this pretty terrifying board that our opponent has accrued, though. A Wasteland. Okay, I'm going to Wasteland their Savannah. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we take out Savannah here, because this is the thing that our opponent can cycle away with the Knight of the Reliquary. We can take out the Dryad Arbor. That gives them one less thing to sack to our Pox, if that's what we're doing. Alright, so then we're going to exile stuff with Nihil Spellbomb. It's an Urborg, but they don't have anything they can play with the Ramanap. They can Wasteland and replay it. If they have landfall triggers, it can Wasteland itself. So if they get like a Scythecat card, they can just Wasteland target itself, replay it with Ramanap Excavator. Right, they're phasing out our guy. They're going to wallop us in the face for a small amount of damage. And then we're going to kill 2 of their guys. I wish my guy would stay phased out for longer. Alright, they're just going to hit us for 3. That's fine. We get to kill 2 of their guys with a Pox. And then we have to make some decisions. Alright, let's come in with the Orc Army because we're about to lose it anyway. Use it or lose it. This is very suspicious. I don't think they're going to block here. Unless they're planning on doing lots of knights. I guess they have enough mana they can do what they want here. But we're just going to gain 2 life before we Pox away the world. Right, they're just wasting their own stuff. It's your own things you're wasting. They also have activations of Knight and Reclaimer left. Alright, so they're going to lose 2 creatures. They're going to lose a land. They got no cards in hand. We're going to discard 1 card from hand, and it's going to be Thoughtseize because it is blank at this point. And then we're going to play out our swamp. Is this Thoughtseize more or less blank than an Urborg, actually? I think the Thoughtseize is the most blank. What do I get rid of if I'm them? Probably Hierarch and Reclaimer are probably the weakest 2 here. This is going to pump their Knight, though. Maybe they... Okay, they got rid of the ones that I suggested they might. And we can play our swamp post Poxing. Ramanap decidedly good against what we're doing. But we're going to board in a bunch of creature removal. So this is 7 damage. We have 1 more turn to find a way out of this one. Yep, you keep playing your spells. What is this? Frenzied Baloth. Yep, that's lethal on the spot, isn't it? 4, 5, 6. Oh, there's 1 away, but that's going to be good enough. This card is cool. I think this card is really good. Okay. I would like Darkblast and Sheoldred's Edicts, please. Cursed Totem also can put in a bit of a shift here. Pox, not really what we need. It's a little bit expensive. I don't think we're like discarding our opponent's hands very much. I think the Thoughtseizes go rather than the therapies here. Because the Thoughtseize... because the therapy is going to trigger our Poxwalkers as well. Do we want the Crucible? I think we do want the Crucible. Maybe we're actually trimming like 1 therapy. Poxwalkers having Death Touch is good. Maybe a Timeline Culler goes. Crucible. Let's get rid of the Crucible. Just try and answer our opponent's stuff. We'll keep in the Spellbomb. It cantrips. It keeps their little guys down. Maybe we don't need 3 Cursed Totem. 3 is a lot to have in any deck, to be honest. Okay, we'll keep this one. And we'll just start hatcherying our way through this game. I'm going to hatch a plan. That's definitely going to be a title of a video in the future, isn't it? Alright, Savannah into some guy. A Lightstall Inquisitor. You got it. Okay, so this will come in tapped later on, but it was going to come into tapped anyway, so no biggie. Alright, let's activate the hatchery just to get a counter on it. Don't know why it's a little poor. There's the counter, but... Okay, I'm going to play out a Wasteland. I'm going to see what my opponent does and see if there's a better target for an Orcish Bowmasters. Because we might be able to ping something down and then block this. Misty Rainforest. It's being cracked. If it was just like a cub, we can then... A Frenzied Baloth. Creature control. That's fine. We will trade for both of their creatures here with just 1 Orcish Bowmaster. So this pings here. And then we trade both of these into the Baloth. This has trample. We'll take one, but that's fine by me. That's a pretty good exchange. We're definitely going to put some Frenzy Baloth on the channel. Don't you worry. This card is good. Are we in Wasteland Town, or are we going to start draining our opponent's hand? I guess it depends if we draw something I'm not interested in keeping around. We can't drain our opponent's hand. We could play this and this Cursed Totem. I quite like that. That seems like a reasonable play here. Because the Smallpox can clean up a creature and a land. And then we can also like Wasteland. And we're going to get a bunch of bugs. The longer we wait to pop the bugs, the more bugs we have. Paducah Bog, sure. Alright, they've got a pretty good land to sacrifice. They don't really have any useless Paducah Bog. Keen-Eyed Curator. Well, our opponent's playing all the cool creatures. This doesn't get to activate. But that's fine. Okay, I think we're just going upstairs with old Liliana. I'm sorry, not upstairs. We're going downstairs. We're going to kill their Keen-Eyed Curator. Then I want to... Do I want to Wasteland them off white? Or do I want to play an Urza Saga? If we play the Saga, it makes a Smallpox awkward next turn. Alright, I'm going to Wasteland their Savannah here. Just keep our opponent down for a bit. If we can start Smallpoxing, we'll be in good shape. A little Reclaimer, a little land. It's over to us. Another hatchery. Oh, you spoil us, Ambassador. Is a second hatchery actually that good, is the next question. It's not terrible. But we need to discard something, and I think the Urza Saga is better here. So we play this out. We get our counters ticking along. Let's... they can just sacrifice a non-token creature of their choice. We will get the hatchery going to do it. Ooh, we're going to get a Dryad Arbor, are we? We can Wasteland that. That's why we left the Wasteland up. Alright, and then we start draining the hands. And then we're going to make some Construct tokens, or just Smallpox away and have like a million billion guys. This card is very beautiful. Alright, we got there. It's just this like ticking clock on the game in a weird way. Although Tamiyo being in the format does suck for us. Okay, let's submit a deck and see if we can do it again to our Maverick opponent. We got some removal. I'll give this a whirl. We get to play another sweet new card. No hatchery though, so makes me a little bit sad. Alright, what is the scariest thing our opponent can do next turn? We have a hatchery. Well, we're playing that. That's a given. We're going to Cabal Therapy our opponent. What are we naming here? So I thought these would have been better in this situation, but this will enable us to do some other stuff later on. Is it Knight of the Reliquary, or is it the Cub? Maybe it's the Cub. Oh, we missed. So close. Okay, Lightstall Inquisitor. I'm not really a fan of this Lightstall Inquisitor. I think the fact that I get to choose what gets exiled. Okay, we just get rid of some card, sort of Castle Locthwain. And they're going to play an Elvish Reclaimer that makes our... Oh, Cabal Therapy. We knew they had the Paducah Bog anyway, it's not really a shocker. Okay, what do we want here? Sheoldred's Edict, we can keep just like removing our opponent's guys. We don't want a Smallpox until we've got more counters on the hatchery. Which means I guess we're just in either Timeline Culler or it's Sheoldred's Edict to clock. I kind of like the Culler. I think we just play this as a guy and then we can just block with it. I'm happy to trade this because it comes back. They've already shown us that they have the Paducah Bog, so they would have to have like an Echoing Deeps, and I'm not sure if their land package is going to go that deep. And they can phase us out with Talon Gates, but then that's how Talon Gates used. So I'm expecting this to come down. And then we're just going to be firing a bunch of removal. Alright, they've got the Hierarch, so they're probably attacking with just the Lightstall Inquisitor. Yep. And they should play out Talon Gates here. Yep, they're playing this out. They're going to phase out our blocker. You got it. And then we're just going to removal spell, block, removal spell. This Lightstall Inquisitor being a 4/3 is not tiny, is it? And Urza's Saga. Are we cracking that next turn? I don't think we are. I think we are removal, removal. So that means we're playing out the Cabal Pit here. Oh, but that was a perfect opportunity to play this Locthwain. I forgot about. Not used to playing against this. This is the first time I play against this card. Alright, we're going to be blocking with the Timeline Culler. Our opponent's got one mystery card in hand. They can do some Elvish Reclaimer nonsense at end step. They did not. Okay. I want to Edict in response ideally so that we can't, so they can't just get a Dryad Arbor. Outland Liberator. That is a guy. They're just putting meat on the board, which is pretty good. Another Elvish Reclaimer. You spoil me with your Elvish Reclaimers. Okay. Each opponent sacrifices a non-token creature of their choice. I will tap the Hatchery as well because we are planning on making a bunch of 1/1s. So we're doing this now because if they sacrifice one of the little guys, it's going to impact the size of their Inquisitor. Am I blocking here? Probably not. 4 damage is a little bit, isn't it? No, I think we take the 4 this turn, and then next turn we kill a guy. We don't want this to be a 3/3, so we're probably going to be Sheoldred's Edicting on our turn. We could Smallpox this turn and get a bunch of guys. Okay, that is a pretty darn good draw for us. Let's put out this Urza's Saga. And then we want to Sheoldred's Edict this turn, don't we? To stop them getting additional... Each opponent sacrifices a non-token creature of their choice. Sure. This will stop this turning into 3/3, which is just slightly more damage they can send at us. And then Orcish Bowmasters into Smallpox making 5 guys is probably going to be good. Keep back the colour. They sacrifice the Lightstall Inquisitor, so they can attack with their Outland Liberator now. But we can put the extra 1 point of damage required to kill it with our Bowmasters here. Have they got Bowmasters? Or are they just going to go and get like an Arbor or something? Could be Echoing Deeps and then phase out our guy again. That's not terrible. It's a Wasteland. Understood. They're probably going to take out our Urza's Saga. Makes sense. Do I ping out one of these little guys? Okay, we have to now, so... Dealing a lot of damage to ourselves. Right, let's take out this Noble Hierarch. They're going to activate a Reclaimer maybe. Get a Sajiri Step, protect it. Feels like that's what's happening. Echoing Deeps. Okay, they're going to phase it out instead. That's going to have the same effect of us not getting a guy, which is kind of a big deal here. Okay, how many 1/1s is enough? Okay, they're just destroying our Urza Saga. Sure. Makes sense. Attacking with a 3/4 that's going to be, what, a 4/5? I think it's time to put a guy under the bus. They've got 1 card in hand, so we get to take that last card. I think we are in Smallpox o'clock here. Are we, though? We found a Bowmasters. That buys us another turn. Okay, I'm going to play this with Lightstall Inquisitor. Maybe it's time to chump block with the Timeline Culler. I don't know. We'll see how this turn pans out. It's pretty evenly poised, I would say. 3 mana, 4 mana. Green Sun Zenith X equals 3. What is this going to be? Knight, probably. I guess. We'll see what they get. Ramanap is pretty good here. You can just start wastelanding us. It is the Ramanap. I like this guy. Although the new 4 mana guy is around. Right, they're going after our Castle Locthwain. You be my guest. Or rather, you didn't do that, but it is what it is. Do I ping something now? I think I do. Let's ping down their Noble Hierarch because they do have white spells in their deck. This was going to give them less Exalted when they attack with their large friend. So this costs 2 life to warp in. Do we block everything here? Clean a guy off the board? Take 3. We take another 2, so we're going to be at 1 life but have a bunch of guys. We might be dead here. Actually, they don't get to kill all of these. They only get to kill 2 of these things, right? So we still have another guy for next turn. Yep. And we're going to take 2 damage on our turn. It's a spooky one here. Timeline Culler Poxwalkers. I don't mind discarding that. That's actually kind of handy. Maybe. Alright, let's get Pox. Oh, we're going to lose our Bowmasters, aren't we? We don't get to keep this guy. What am I talking about? We do get to sacrifice this Hatchery and get 6 1/1s, though. That's a good number of 1/1s. Going to be a little bit tricky to turn the corner. We've got one land. Our opponent is going to regrow all their lands. They can also phase out our guys if they want. They can get the Bojuka Bog out of their graveyard and stop us from having access to the Poxwalkers and the Timeline Culler. We can't actually play the Timeline Culler just yet, though. They're going to attack here. I will put as many guys under the bus as required to kill our opponent. This creature. What are we doing here? A swamp is good. We can't Timeline Culler because it's 2 life that we have to pay. So if they attack with both, we can kill one. I think we're just on blocks. If they have a Sajiri step, they can kill us. But I don't think they do because they would have fetched that earlier. Like they could have just killed us last turn if they didn't have that. You get Dryad Arbor or something. It doesn't really matter what they get because they're just getting more card advantage because of this Ramunap Excavator. So they're thinning out their deck. And these are just cards that at some point will come into play. They've got a Collector Roof in there that can shut down our Shadowspear. That's an interesting inclusion to keep in the deck. We didn't show them anything apart from the Shadowspear, I don't think. But, oh no, the Nihil Spellbomb as well. Maybe they're a little bit worried about that. But it's still a creature that beats down. And that's kind of Maverick. You have just have a bunch of guys that do just kind of do the job. Alright, this is going to be, what? The Baloth? That can attack this turn. Okay, Scythecat Cub. Yikes. That is not my best friend. Poxwalkers, you say? Well, that's not the one, is it? Alright, we are in the process of dying. So, the Scythecat Cub will be a 4-4 this turn. The next turn, it will be getting 1 counter that gets to 3, so it'll be 6, 7, 8. And they'll trample over and kill us. So, okay. If they get another Scythecat Cub here, we're dead, right? Because they play the fetch land, put 2 counters on this, crack it, put another doubling of counters. This has trample, we die. GG. Alright, we fought the good fight. We couldn't quite get over the finish line there. But still enjoying the deck. Let's go to round 3. Yeah, just conceding there, yeah. So we're going to go to round 3 now. Not unhappy with how the deck performed, but we didn't quite get there. Have you got magic cards you don't want taking up space in your home, or do you just need some extra spending money? Well, my lovely sponsors, 3for1 Trading, are buying all collections, big and small. They are one of Europe's biggest traders and have a transparent process to sell them cards and make sure you're getting a good deal. Click the link in the description of this video to get an offer on your cards today. On to round 3. Our opening hand is pretty mana heavy. I think we're going to send this one back and see if we can get a hand that actually does something beyond a Wasteland. Alright, we got a Hatchery, we got Smallpox. We've got a Poxwalkers that maybe we get to bring back at some point. I feel like we need more ways of milling over our graveyard. That's the one thing I'm thinking so far with the deck. We'll keep this, I think we get rid of the Pox here. That's the thing for later. So we get Thoughtseize into potentially Smallpox. A Yawgmoth, Grafdigger's Cage. That kind of shows you where the meta's at right now. Okay, let's get our Hatchery on. Let's point his Thoughtseize at our opponent's face and see what we can rustle up. Crop Rotation, Malevolent Rumble. Okay, we take the Malevolent Rumble here. We just don't give our opponent the velocity that provides. They have an Urza Saga? Sure. So this time we Thoughtseize and Wasteland. And then they can fire off this Crop Rotation, but then we can blow up whatever they get with it. And that's not a great situation for our opponent then. Show me what you're working with. What is your extra card that you drew? Do you want to Crop Rotate? A Once Upon a Time. Intriguing. We obviously take the Crop Rotation here. And I think we wait till the end step and see what they do with this Once Upon a Time. Because they have to reveal the card they get with it. So we can see what they get, and then we can Wasteland whichever thing we think is going to be most useful here. Alright, let's see what they reveal. And then we're probably going to Wasteland the Yawgmoth, because they're not going to have the mana to activate this Saga anyway. They've gone and got another Yawgmoth. That's kind of interesting. Okay, we take out the Saga now, and leave them with double Yawgmoth. So we put our opponent in a lose-lose situation a bit there. If they don't show us a green source, then we just hit their Yawgmoth and cut the legs out from underneath them. The Smallpox looks less good in the face of this Yawgmoth with a bonus 1 in hand. Exoration. Okay, so now we can really put the screws to our opponent if we want to. Now, it does come at a little bit of a cost if we want to do that. Do I think we can just win the game with 3 guys? Maybe. We just can't go back because of the Gratigas Cage. Is 3 power enough when we take our opponent off of something, right? They probably sacrifice the Dark Depths and left with Cradle. Just the Cradle. Yeah, go on then. I guess we can do this. I think the Poxwalkers... Is it the Poxwalkers or the Bowmasters? Bowmasters is more likely to be able to be cast. I guess we get rid of the Poxwalkers. It's unlikely to matter here, but we're going to take this Cradle out of our opponent's hand. We're probably going to take this Dark Depths away from them. But then we get 3 power to play with. And a Wasteland is obviously incredible here. Our opponent is living off the top with 1 land. It's not a great place to be. We're obviously doing the same thing, but our deck is kind of designed to play in garbage time. So we should be okay here. Wasteland. Alright, do you want to take out my Urborg? That's pretty good if you do. Ooh. We got the Cutter here. I think they need the mana more than we do here because we've got something on board. So they're not going to use this Wasteland on our Urborg. They want to be able to string together things like Malevolent Rumble here. If they find a Malevolent Rumble, that's pretty good. Oh, no! Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. That is pretty bad. In terms of top decks, that's probably the best one. Alright, we don't get to pay for these. We haven't got any mana. Why are you asking me to pay? We don't have the mana. Come on, game. Let us put all our poor little guys into the bin. A basic swamp. Actually, pretty good here. If we can find another land, we can jam a Timeline Culler and just start bashing for 2. This is also a Tabernacle that taps for mana because of the Yawgmoth. Pithing Needle. This is why our opponent was in the tank for so long on this one. They were trying to work out what to name. Wasteland they've already seen from us, so I wouldn't be surprised to see that. Liliana the Veil. Not a bad guess, but we're a long way off of that mana-wise, so... Alright, we drew a blank. Let's pass it over. Who draws the first thing that actually matters? Caracas. That doesn't matter. Cabal Therapy. That doesn't matter. We can save this if our opponent does keep something in hand at some point. We can't get Poxwalkers back, so it's kind of blank. Forest. Alright, our opponent has drawn a non-blank. That is unfortunate. We have drawn a blank. Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. We are probably losing this one now. Oh, just ripping them all, opponent. Absolute decimation of us over there from what our opponent's doing. A Wasteland. Like, we're probably not beating this Urza Saga, are we? Goodbye, Urza Saga. What a weird game. It's only a matter of time. Like, our opponent finds a life from low and they automatically win. They find a Malevolent Rumble. The chances of them winning the game are very high. Another expiration. That is a blank. I'm glad you missed one time. Okay. So now we start taxing our opponent's mana by they have to keep activating this Maze of Ith. And then we need to find another creature and have the mana to pay for it. So we need to go land, land, so we can get the Poxwalkers in. Thespian Stage. So this is another Maze of Ith. Jeez. Our opponent is putting us squarely in the dirt right now. Okay, a swamp. That's something. Force them to tap the Maze of Ith because they have mana they can use it for. Oh look, a second Maze of Ith. That's not really what I wanted to see here. A Dark Depths. Okay, so now I have the 2020. Yeah, I think we're pretty much dead here. We'll screw that one up. So we got the game into garbage time while we have permanents in play. And then our opponent just ripped like a boss and beat us. It's going to happen sometimes. Moving on. What works here? Sheoldred's Edict kills their scary Marit Lage tokens. I like that. Don't think Pox is that useful here. It's quite expensive. Our opponent tends to have quite a few lands. We've already seen the Gratigas Cage and it did shut us down a bit. Maybe we ease off on the Poxwalkers. Maybe the Culler. Do we need a Shadowspear in a match with this? Probably not. If we're dueling constructs, we're going to lose that game anyway. Alright, we'll try this. We could board Engraver to hate to stop life from alone. Maybe we're supposed to do that. I'm just going to rely on this Nihil Spellbomb instead. Because these cards are so blank so often. Like, our opponent didn't do any Life from the Loam stuff there. The lands decks these days are geared a lot more to play without needing the lands, because they got 4 copies of all of their good cards. So it's not like you can snag a singleton and mess them up. And they got Malevolent Rumbles and Crop Rotation, so they're digging really deep anyway. I just don't think it's necessarily worth our time. Thoughtseize is not great here. A little bit of pressure, not great. I need another land for Liliana. Does have a Wasteland. If they're not on a Loam hand, this is reasonable. Alright, I'm going to keep it. I think this matchup is just going to be pretty terrible for us. But maybe we can snag their only green source with this Wasteland. And that gives us the ability to stop our opponent from playing the game. Because their spells are pretty good. Alright, Once Upon a Time. In response to our Thoughtseize. So this might be quite crucial to our opponent's game plan, this Once Upon a Time. There's a Saga. Yep, that's a Wasteland target if ever I saw one. Malevolent Rumble, Crop Rotation. Jeez. No green sources. How do we go about stopping our opponent getting green sources? Okay, it's ugly. But we're going to take the Expedition map. If we can stop our opponent from having green mana, we might win this game. It won't be easy, but it'll be possible. A Wasteland from our opponents, sure. I'll play out a Wasteland, and we're going to play Bowmasters and just get the damage going. They'll probably Wasteland our Wasteland, but they might see what they draw first. Because getting a Malevolent Rumble off here would be enormous. But if they expose their green source, we will pick it up. So have to Malevolent Rumble into a green source after playing a green source to cast in the first place. That's kind of probably the best case scenario for them. Right, let's get in the Bow Boys. It's a threat. It also gets around Mazavith. And by gets around, I mean it deals 1 damage a turn. I think our opponent will probably find a green source before then, but they have one right now. Okay. Our opponent is just a much better magician than we are. We cannot magic the cards we need to the top of our library. Not that we have very good cards here. Sorry, not that one. Let's Thoughtseize again. It's the Crop Rotation. Yep. What is this going to go and fetch? A basic forest, no doubt. There it is. Sure. So what have they got left? Malevolent Rumble, Life from the Loam. Taking the Life from the Loam doesn't seem great. I guess we take the Malevolent Rumble. I think we are just stone cold dead to what our opponent's doing here. And maybe we shouldn't even continue playing this one. We'll give it a couple of turns, but I think we are just going to lose to what our opponent's putting down now. Now, they've gone for the Saga instead of anything. They didn't go for the Loam. That's very strange to me. Why wouldn't you go for Loam there? Timeline Culler. That's certainly a Magic the Gathering card that we have in our hand. Don't know why you wouldn't Loam there. What am I missing? They've only got 2 targets, but that's still a draw 2 for 2 on a turn where you're not doing anything with your mana. Unless they draw Once Upon a Time. No? Just passing. Okay. So, what do they play out here? The other Saga. And then they can start making friends. This is very much the turn I would like to draw a land for our Bowmasters. And they make a 1-1, we kill it. And continue to attack. For our very mediocre amounts of damage. We did not do that, however. We trading? I'll trade, because if we can trade a 1-1 body for a construct, that's good for us, because they're not going to be 1-1s for very long. Alright, they just took it, and now they're going to make a thing. We don't have the mana to get this Bowmaster in. We've got like 25 lands and 3 Mox Diamonds. Obviously, Mox Diamond doesn't help us in this situation. But our mana sources should be pretty good to be able to cast, you know, spells. We've seen 11 cards, and I haven't drawn a land. We had 2 in our opener, and that's all we've had. Alright, so we're getting constructs. We're just going to see Shadowspear. No, Mox Diamond, just another green source. Probably pitching this Mazavith. Oh, they discarded a Dark Depths, did they? Okay. They can play a land and Life from the Loam. Another Saga. What is our shot to win this one? Yeah, I think we're done. I just don't think we'll be in this one. Our mana betrayed us somewhat there. Okay, we had a very niche line to try and win that game anyway. We could have maybe, you know, put a bit more opponent pressure down if we had them not making mana for a few more turns, but just couldn't do anything there. On to round 4. We're still looking for a win, unfortunately. Okay, I need to put a win on the board with our little hatchery deck at some point. This seems like it should do some work. Like, we got a curve. Pox hands don't get much better. Obviously, if we had a hatchery, I'd be happier. We can't always have hatcheries. Okay, let's point this Thoughtseize at our opponent's face. What do you got for us? Ooh, we're doing some of this, are we? 2 pieces of Graveyard Hate in our opponent's opener. Not in love with that. Not in love with that one. I will take the Soul Cauldron. I think that's a permanent that we can't really interact with once it's on the board. And it can do some pretty busted things. Especially when they have the hasty lands. They can get like a hasty engineer and just kill us at some point. Basic Mountain into a Soul Guide Lantern. Sure. This Soul Guide Lantern feels a touch awkward for us. So this Mox Diamond also doesn't feel great. It's probably going to get discarded later. I think this turn is make a guy and attack with said guy. This might help our opponent twig what's going on with our deck. But we'll see. We're going to see Saga and Welder this turn. Arena of Glory. Sure. That is a Welder. Okay, let's attack with our Timeline Culler. Let's go. I don't think they're blocking here. Is it better to play a Swamp or a Mox Diamond? Welders can mess with our Mox Diamond, so if we get another Mox Diamond at some point, they can just start welding it away. And that isn't great for us. Do I play the Wasteland out and let them know it's coming? Certain. Okay, we're going to get a Liliana going. And we're just going to take out this Welder. And sort of go from there. And then we can use our Smallpox plus Wasteland to get things going. They're lightning bolting our Liliana, but this is still getting a 2-for-1. I'll take that exchange of resources. If they haste something in with this Arena of Glory that we're not ready for, that could be a problem. Is it just a Welder? There it is. Are they going to play out the Urza Saga as well? Doesn't look like it. Alright, I want to see what's going on over there. A lightning bolt on our poor little guy. So now they have a window to use the Soul Guide Lantern. And there it goes. That is upsetting. A Grindstone. Okay. I guess this is as good a turn as any to say no to what our opponent's putting down. We're going to lose a Swamp and a Mox Diamond that doesn't do anything in our hand. They're going to lose everything. Welcome to the dirt, opponent. We're leaving up the Wasteland in case they draw another Saga. Let's play the game of who draws better from the dirt. There's another Mox Diamond. Get out of here. Unfortunately, our little guy, we can't get him back. It's only when he's on a warp journey that we get him back. A Mox Opal. Sure. Can't wasteland that one. A Smallpox, with our opponent only having 1 card in hand. So we can take out their last land. And then, what do we lose? Probably the Wasteland? Yeah, I can buy that one. I could just get rid of a Swamp. It stops us from drawing black spells, so we can still warp that guy in. And this just covers the next land they have as well. We want to stay in garbage time. Like, we can still cast, like, Orcish Bowmasters and stuff. And we still need to draw another land to cast Liliana, and most of our lands are black-producing lands anyway. A Thoughtseize. Our opponent has 2 cards in hand. Sure, let's have a little look. Agatha's Soul Cauldron. Don't like that very much. Not in love with the Goblin Welder either. I think we take the Welder. They could go like Ancient Tomb, play the Soul Cauldron. That could be pretty good. Okay, I will fire this off now. Let's get rid of your Agatha's Soul Cauldron. A Chaos Defiler. That is a long way off being cast. This is the sort of thing they want in their graveyard. So they can do Welder shenanigans. We've gotten through a lot of Welders here. They found a basic land. Very nice for them. Can we find a black source? We did not find a black source. We did find a spell we can cast. But we'll pass the turn quickly so they think we're just still doing nothing. And then if our opponent gives us an opportunity to ping like an X1, we'll take it. Otherwise, we're just going to make the Bowmaster and start beating down. Got to win the game somehow. Oh, yeah. Here we go. Let's attack with our team. I think it's important to get Liliana ticking up. Even though that does put the Chaos Defiler where they want it, it just means that they're not going to be able to hold any other cards in their hand moving on. This is a thorough poxing if ever there was one. I don't actually really want to cast a Smallpox. I don't think it's correct for us to do so. It takes out one of our opponent's lands. They can't cast 3-drops. But it takes out one of our lands. I guess we could lose our Wasteland, but this is our best answer to Urza Saga, which can then suddenly spin the game. I think we just hold with the Liliana. It's got 2 Edicts saved up. I don't think we need to do anything with the Liliana here. Sometimes the correct play is no play at all. If our opponent plays a body that I'm okay removing, a Grindstone, okay. A little bit scary. A Wasteland. Let's attack. I think I'm okay to plus the Liliana now. We'll just get rid of this Wasteland. We'll save this Smallpox as removal. 7. So we might get the final point of damage with the Smallpox, which is my favourite way of killing people with this deck for sure. Because they are on an odd number of life. Right, they have a lot of mana. That's not the gate anymore for what they're doing. I don't think they want to tap this Ancient Tomb either. A Eumidian Hatchery. Get in. Love the Hatchery. I'm not sure if I've made that clear enough in this video that I love this card yet. Let's play the Hatchery. And we'll pass. We can just start smashing out some tokens here. Great Furnace. That is an artifact. That does things. We haven't quite got lethal here. We can attack for 3, but that's not enough. Let's pay 1 life to put a Hatchery counter on our thing. Oh, another Hatchery. Sign me up. So we have lethal now. We'll still keep the Smallpox. If our opponent draws Painted Servant, they kill us here. If they play Painted Servant off of these 2 lands, they can still kill us with the Grindstone. So I don't think it's worth wastelanding the Ancient Tomb. If we could wasteland both of these, maybe. If we wasteland this, then they go to 2. We can't kill them in the upkeep, can we? Alright, we just have to say, don't have it, opponent. City of Traitors, that doesn't do it. So now we have lethal here. I guess we'll make this, wasteland this, just get 2 attackers. Right, we win the game. Cool. So, we want to do some slightly different things now. We are going to be boarding in Null Rods, which does mean we're boarding out the Mox Diamonds. We probably then also want to get rid of Shadowspear and probably Nihil Spellbomb. This gives us Darkblast for their welders and then Sheoldred's Edict for their other things. Feels like they're going to be hating on our graveyard a little bit here, so maybe we strip out a couple of little guys to get a couple more removal spells in. Do we want Cursed Totems because it also deals with welders and engineers? So if we shut down all their artifacts, shut down their welders and their engineers, maybe they just die. So we don't need these. The wastelands are still good here. We probably don't need all of this stuff. We can probably trim on this and get another Sheoldred's Edict back in. Is the Pox... Pox probably is pretty weak here. Let's be honest with ourselves. We could take out some Thoughtseize for some Leylines. Maybe we should do that. I don't know. If we're just killing all their creatures, though. Well, this is a very hateful hand. I'll keep this. But the thing about Painter is it always has an answer. Because if you just have a Painter and a Red Blast, that can solve any problem. Okay, so we've got an Urza Saga over there. I assume they have an Ancient Tomb. No. So they're using this as a tutor, so this might be a race to Painter situation. Or they're going to use a Spirit Guide to get this Urza Saga popping off. I will play out this Swamp this turn. So the idea is if they do have a Construct coming this turn, we can ping it down when it's just a 1-1. Okay, they didn't do that. Interesting. We can make them sacrifice any creature they get here. Alright. They're getting a mana. What's going to happen? We just have the Hatchery getting us there. Hopefully. We've just got a flurry of Spirit Guides to get a win here with a Painter. I'd very much like you to not have anything good here, opponent. I do really need to put a win on the board with this deck. I do think we certainly have the tools to beat a Painter deck in our hand, though. They're letting the mana burn off. Interesting. Are we just going to start sending in the damages? I think so. To the face. Do we want to just start shredding our opponent's hand? If we know, we definitely want to get Null Rod in. I guess we attack first, see if our opponent is up to anything. We don't actually have anything to fetch with the Sagas anymore, so it's not that good. It's just going to make some guys. I think we're just playing basic Swamp into Null Rod. And then we can activate the Eumidian Hatchery for nothing, just to put a counter on it if we want to. We've got a Braid here. Untimely Malfunction. Same thing, but different. Okay. So next turn we have access to Urza, Saga, Sheoldred's Edict, and Smallpox in one turn. Or Cursed Totem is the other option. We'll see what our opponent play. If they play like an Engineer, we can deal with that. Okay, that's an Engineer. This is going to put what in the graveyard? Presumably Painter's Servant. That seems like a good one. Phyrexian Dragon Engine. Okay. I believe this is the Smallpox turn. I will put counter on this. Another Eumidian Hatchery. Who among us can resist the allure of the Hatchery? I don't actually think it's correct to play the Hatchery this turn. Although what we're doing next turn, maybe it is right to play the Hatchery. Alright, let's go for a Smallpox. I will sacrifice my Hatchery, get 4 little friends, and then we can play the other Hatchery. So we're discarding a card here. That's kind of the difficult one. Maybe we are just discarding the Saga here. We don't have Pithing Needles, which I think might be a mistake as well. We'll sacrifice this army, because they do sometimes have loot effects. I'll sacrifice this Hatchery. This feels good. I'm enjoying the Smallpox make a bunch of guys. Okay, let's play this out. Let's attack. I would like to keep open my Sheoldred's Edict, I think, rather than deploying the Cursed Totem. The way that this can go wrong for us is if they go like hasty Goblin Engineer off of like Arena of Glory. That can go wrong for us. A Fury here isn't very nice either. Agatha's Soul Cauldron. Okay. That doesn't do anything right now. It is Graveyard Hate, and it can be a combo kill for them. They probably have Phyrexian Devourer, so they can get like an infinitely large creature. But we've got a real clock here. Alright, let's put counters on our little Hatchery. Why is this not an egg counter? Why is it like a little paw? That bothers me a little bit. Alright, let's attack with the team. This is a big bite out of crime. I will deploy this Cursed Totem. This will stop our opponent from being able to do anything with Agatha's Soul Cauldron, because they can't activate the abilities. I do enjoy Cursed Totem a great deal. It's a sideboard card I've been rattling around with for quite some time in various decks. Okay, they're getting rid of our Hatchery in fear of Crucible or something. That makes sense. If you've got a creature, it's going to die. A Painter's Servant. Okay. So they can Red Blast our removal spell, but then we can play another removal spell. Each opponent sacrifice a non-turn creature of their choice. So if they Red Blast this, then our Liliana will clean up the Painter's Servant now. They didn't have it. We get to continue attacking our opponents. Okay, I like this sequence for us. We attack with all of our creatures. We Thoughtseize away one of their cards, and then we Liliana away the last card. Alright, a thorough poxing was had by all. Get rid of Simian Spirit Guide. Plays Liliana. Alright, we got our match. We got our match win. No reverse trophy. Everything is fine in the world. Maybe we can get some pity points back with a 2-3. We do have one round left. Like, to be fair, 2 of the rounds we lost were pretty close. We only got stomped in 1 round against lands, but I think that's kind of just a given with this deck. Alright, final round. Let's see if we can get 2-3. Okay, we can keep this. So, Hatchery, Thoughtseize our opponent. They've mulliganed to 5. They're on the play. Are we dead on turn 1? Who knows? Mull to 4. It's getting a little bit tricky for Oops to kill us on 3 cards. This is more likely to be like an Echo Wheel deck, I would imagine. Which could kill us on turn 1, could just give us a new hand. We don't know. Agadine the Undercrypt. Alright, opponent. You are the bad guy. However, we have some pretty good cards here. Let's have a look. You got 2 cards. Can I take half your hand, please? Undersit Informer and Cabal Ritual. Get that out of here. And then we're going to play this Mox Diamond, pitching this Swamp. And then I think we're going to play out a Nihil Spellbomb and see if our opponent concedes a game. They conceded the game. Turn 1 kill with Pox, sort of. Alright. I would like some Leyline of the Void. I would like some Null Rods for their pivot plan. Do I want Cursed Totems for just Undercity and Form? Probably not. This is not really a Shadowspear game, so that can get out of here. Obviously, we want the ability to multi-spell. We want Hand Disruption. 3 drops. Who's casting 3 drops against this deck? Probably not I. Poxwalkers isn't really a card we're casting, so I guess this looks fine. So you may be saying, why are you playing Null Rod and Mox Diamond and Nihil Spellbomb? The thing is, they're all good in their own ways, and we're the one who gets to choose when they come down. We just need to have something to hold on to have a chance at this matchup, and that's what this mishmash of cards can do. No, this hand doesn't do anything. What about this one? Leyline of the Void and Nihil Spellbomb. Sure, I will get rid of a Mox Diamond. Or do we keep both Mox Diamonds and then we get to Smallpox without losing a land? No, I'm okay losing a land here. Let's start the Leyline in play. Let's hope this ruins our opponent's day. They can just Charbelcher us. Alright, they've just had enough and they're off it. Beautiful. So I can't really say that our deck was necessarily the thing that won in the last round. But it's a 2-3, I will take it. Look at our matches, we had 2 1-2s. So in terms of games, we're like, what? 6-6 on games? I'll take that for a Pox deck any day of the week. So, what do I think about this? Actually, let's start with the first thing. My new baby. This card was pretty much the best thing we were doing in most of the games. This card is great. Big fan of this one. I think it fundamentally changes what you can do with a Pox deck. But I also think it allows us to play some other decks, right? I think I already have... I think I have 2 other decks in my queue with this card in. So you're going to be seeing it a fair bit. And I've got a 4th one kind of on the way. So I think this card is pretty good. This is definitely one of the easiest shells to just get rid of it because you have Smallpox. You're actively blowing up your lands anyway. We did Wasteland our own land a few times and that was the correct thing to do. So that's just a nice extra line that you have available. Giving you more fodder for things like Cabal Therapy is very nice. I do think that we should have had Basilisk Collar instead of Shadowspear. I did mention that at the time. Because that just allows all of our little rubbish guys to trade up into anything. And that was kind of where we were getting beaten. Like the Maverick player beat us because they had just a bunch of big guys. When we lost to the Separate Breakfast, it was because they had a bunch of big guys and we couldn't trade up. So that would really help in that factor. Like, we obviously have the Death Touch here, but this isn't always a reliable blocker because it comes in taps when it comes from your graveyard. The other new card, Timeline Culler, this card was fine. I don't really think we were leveraging as well as we could have done. I think this card is good. I think this is worth playing. However, I think the configuration of this deck isn't necessarily where we want to be. If we're playing a Ripples of Undeath build, where we're actually putting more stuff into the graveyard, all of a sudden the synergy between Culler, Poxwalkers, Cabal Therapy, this all starts to come together in a really nice little stew that we can get going. So I think that's probably where I'm going to take this next time, is trying to... next time I play Pox anyway, is trying to play something that's actively milling us at the same time as well. We have played Ripples of Undeath Pox and it felt pretty good. There is obviously the how much life can we realistically keep paying, because this is costing us life when we warp it. This is costing us life when we tap it. We've got Cabal Pit, which sometimes costs us life, depending on if we have the Urborg. Pox hurts us, and Smallpox. And then if we're also adding in extra stuff that hurts us, we do need to be aware of that. Overall, I think, you know, the deck on its own was fine. I think the pieces here are kind of powerful, but I think they need support. I think these are powerful pieces that require us to actually build slightly more around it than just maybe, you know, we're going to discard them and it's going to be good. Because we weren't really assembling it. Whereas if you watch the Dredge video I put out last week, I think it was, there was, you know, a good example of how the synergy of playing with something like Poxwalkers becomes really good. Now, we could do like a mini version of that within this sort of shell. And that's something I'm going to explore at some point. I will try and break up my Eumidian Hatchery decks, so it's not just all of these all the time. But this is the thing that has me most excited in the new set. Like, I just love the design of this. I think it's beautiful. Alright, Cursed Totem, Null Rod, pretty cool still. Didn't get to Darkblast anyone, that's kind of sad. But yeah, I think the deck is alright. I think the tools are interesting and I'm looking forward to experimenting a bit more. And if you lovely Pox players out there can let me know what you're working on with these cards and how they're fitting together for you, that would be wonderful as well. I do like to see what other people are coming up with. And let me know what you reckon and anything that you really want to see on the channel from the new set. Let me know and I'll try and get it on the channel if I can find a list I'm happy with. Alright, thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe. And if you need to pick up new cards like this sweet Eumidian Hatchery, check out 3for1 Trading. It's in the description. Goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget turbo depths as well as 3 tiers of support. A low cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed turbo depths guide that is updated every month as well as regular articles, and lastly the higher tier gives you all of the above as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.